to Tel Aviv, where we can speak to social commentator Steven Reich. Steven, good evening to you. Thank you for joining me on the programme. We've just been hearing a kind of overview of life in Israel, but obviously the breaking news, literally just broken, is the retrieval of one Israeli hostage. Tell me how that's being greeted in Israel now.
Absolutely, Vanessa. First and foremost, I want to thank you for having me on. I'm a normal guy. I'm just a civilian. I'm no military officer. I'm no political expert. So I think it's really important that you have my complimentary view as just what a normal person is like.
So do I. That's why we're very pleased indeed to have you. I'm very glad you're on the programme. Just as you say, a normal guy. You're not a spokesperson for any organisation. You're just someone in Israel. So give us your view and you choose what you think it's important to emphasise and highlight.
Yeah, in regard to the hostage freed, first and foremost, it's every hostage that's freed is like a little sigh of relief. I think about it every day. Friends of friends, people I've met were killed in the Nova Festival, and friends I have, their siblings were lost elsewhere. And I don't know, I just think it could have been me. It could have been my sister. Could have been my grandmother. And we feel like family here in Israel in so many ways. It's such a lovely communal society. So every hostage that's freed, no matter the intention, perhaps some people may say it's Hamas propaganda, perhaps it's the IDF freeing them, we just feel a little sigh of relief and a little bit of hope. That's exactly how I feel, because I don't know this individual personally, but it doesn't matter. I feel a lot of relief. And then your thoughts go back to feeling sad about those who are left. Like, how are they feeling? Are they alive? What are they going through? But that's pretty much the consensus around my friend group and my social circle, most certainly.
How much are you aware of the way in which other countries in the world are reacting to Israel and Israel's incursion into Gaza? How much is this being digested and percolated in Israeli media?
So I'll tell you first, the preamble. Again, I'm just a normal guy. So what I think I know, I might not know, but I feel like I know all too well how countries around the world are responding. I'm American by birth, so I'm a dual citizen. I know back home in America, on college campuses in particular, but throughout the city of my origin, Philadelphia, and throughout other large cities in the United States, there's these loud, aggressive protests where people seem rife with confirmation bias. They want a villain and they stick to these ideas. And it just feels like we're villainized here in Israel. We're made to be othered and not human. And there's this storyline that doesn't sit with facts. I hear the story of the airport in Dagestan in Russia and this pogrom that my grandparents fled Russia to avoid. To me, there's this rhetoric around the world, whether it's in England where you're coming from or in the United States, my country of birth. Everything I see online and all the reports I'm getting from friends around the world, we're pretty dehumanized and villainized. It seems to be an easy narrative to say Israel are these villains, and people seem upset with posters of kidnapped individuals. Normal people like me, and it could have been me, they're just tearing these signs down. I think about that all the time. If I was being brutalized and my family wanted my poster up there to let the world know, that would upset people, because they have this idea of Israelis as some villainized group where it's so far divorced from reality. So it's really hurtful to see.
And
I feel a sense of
if I were
responsibility.
to ask you, Stephen, I realise you're not a mouthpiece on behalf of the entire country, but you're, as you say, a regular guy and you're there. If I were to ask you, how would you say most Israelis who go about their business, who are just taking their kids to school and who are just, trying to earn a living and doing what everybody else is trying to do because they're just people, how they feel about their neighbours in Gaza in the dire situation that they're currently in? And there's no question that life in Gaza is horrific at the moment. How do you think most Israelis that feel about that?
It's a really good question. I think it's super important. I just spoke about us being dehumanized and villainized. We don't want that for anybody. I think it's a common consensus. There is a feeling of anger, but anger is a secondary emotion. It comes from fear and sadness. And I think that's what we all feel. We feel sad that people have been brutally murdered in Israel, but people are dying out in Gaza. It's unfair and unjust that we feel the world has enabled Hamas, and our government tried to be peaceful with Hamas for so long that this genocidal terrorist ISIS-like organization has continued to govern these people. And now they're stuck in this horrible situation that Hamas initiated. And From my understanding, their lives are not so easy with Hamas as their rulers, whether they support them or not. And just to know people are dying, we're sad. There's no one happy here in Israel.
No.
We work hard to seek the little moments of joy, sure, but none of us are happy. We're not happy to hear that civilians may be dying in Gaza, despite the IDF's extra efforts to avoid that. We're not happy. We're sad that people have died here. We're sad that people see us as these villains who only want destruction, because that's not true. We're seeking life and peace. So I guess to full circle answer your question, we feel really sad about it. We feel like it's a sad necessity, because after all the peace attempts, the most obvious one to cite is us removing ourselves from Gaza. Peace hasn't worked. It's not in the Hamas charter. They explicitly mention that these peaceful negotiations are against the fundamentals of their Islamic resistance movement. They say jihad's the only way, and they couple that with explicitly mentioning killing of Jews. So we feel sad and stuck. Like, this war is horrible. We don't want war, but it feels like it's necessary.
Stephen, it's a story of tragedy. It really is, and sadness and worry and fear. And I hugely appreciate you joining me to describe it for us so vividly. Thank you very much indeed.